Hello, and welcome to the Wakefield School Committee meeting of September 10th, 2024. We're in WCAT studio per usual. And I think we will start our meeting as we normally do with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And next would be the reading out of our mission statement. The vision of the Wakefield Public Schools is to graduate students who are confident lifelong learners, who are respectful and caring members of their community. Our mission is to prepare students for college, career, and community by providing rich and challenging curriculum, high-quality instruction, and educational experiences that meet their individual needs and interests. Next would be the portion where we ask for public comment, if there is any. There's no one in studio, and WCAT would tell us if there's anyone on Zoom. And there is not. Okay. We'll move on. I believe we have a consent agenda with a motion.
Move that the school committee approve the minutes of the August 20th, 2024 school committee meeting and accept the minutes of the August 22nd, 2024 school committee student services subcommittee meeting and the August 26th, 2024 school committee labor and personnel subcommittee meeting as presented.
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? No. And I should have asked, Ian, do you know if Judy is with us on Zoom?
She has not shown up as of yet.
She has not shown up as of yet. Okay. Well, we will do we just raise our hands. So those in favor? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we're missing Eileen as well. Okay. All right. So unanimous 5-0. Brought it down. Next would be our budget items. Ms. Bufagna.
Of course. Good evening, everyone. Tonight you have the financial statements in front of you for the first 2 months of the fiscal year, July and August. And you can see this month, the end of August, you'll see a dramatic decrease in the available balance because we've encumbered salaries. We've encumbered teacher salaries that we know for the positions that have been hired. We still have some vacancies, which we'll talk about a little bit further on in the agenda. But we've had our first teacher payroll. Substitutes has been hired. Also, our paraprofessionals were paid at the end of August as well. So we have a remaining balance of just over 12%. And we have some balances there for curriculum needs, utilities, transportation. But we'll be watching that as the months go by. You'll see we have our grant statements. Now, our grants typically get submitted to DESE for October 1st. So those are our entitlement grants, our Title I, our Title IIA for mentors, and our METCO grant. We know what the amount is. It's been approved by DESE, so we're spending that down as well. The Summer Acceleration Academy grant, we've already spent just over $60,000 for that. So we have a little balance in that line. And then the last page you'll see is the revolving accounts. You'll see those balances have dramatically decreased over the past month. And we'll have to watch those as we've made a portion of these balances in order to balance our budget for this year. So we'll be keeping an eye on those revolving accounts as well. Does anyone have any questions on the first 2 months of the fiscal year?
No questions?
And then we have the payrolls. We had 3 payrolls in August to be approved.
Move that the school committee approve payroll warrants 96, 98, and, sorry, I can't read.
I think it's
10.
6,
6,
8, and 10.
My eyesight's going, I'm sorry. I move approve payroll warrants 6, 8, and 10 as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Those in favor? And that is another unanimous.
And then we have two gifts for you to accept tonight. We were fortunate, we received school supplies from, the first gift was approximate $800 worth of value of backpacks, crayons, pencils, pens, paper from the Brightview Wakefield Senior Living Company.
Move that the school committee accept with gratitude the donation of school supplies for students valued at $800 from the residents of Brightview Wakefield Senior Living. The items include backpacks, crayons, pens, pencils, paper, plus other miscellaneous items.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Those in favor? Thank you.
And we had one more gift of school supplies from the Yokohama Company, also from Wakefield.
Move that the school committee accept with gratitude the donation of school supplies for students valued at $800 from Yokohama TWS. The items included are backpacks, scissors, crayons, pens, pencils, plus other miscellaneous items.
Second.
It's been made and seconded. Any discussion? No? Those in favor? Great. One thing I just want to say is Brightview stuck out to me. So in corporate giving is always great. I just think the poetry of sort of Brightview Senior Living, giving back to the students, the kids of the community is just amazing. So thank you for both of those to those groups. That's all. And that was unanimous, I believe, 5-0. Thank you.
That's it for me.
Is that wrap business?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Christy.
You're welcome.
Dr. Lyons.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. It's good to see everybody back, and it's great to be back to school and to welcome students and faculty and staff back. Especially great to see the students, right? Once they arrive, kind of the schedule kind of settles, and we fall into a really nice hum of movement with kids everywhere, which is really just terrific. With the permission of the chair, I'd like to take my agenda items out of order, and I'd like to, in a moment, ask our new athletic director to come up to the table and talk a little bit about kind of his process of coming here. But before he does, I'd just like to talk a little bit about the process that we used to find Mike Murphy, our new athletic director, and to kind of to hire him. So we're actually remarkably fortunate. One of the most important things you do, you've heard me say this, I'm going to say it again. One of the most important things we do is hire, right? When we lose somebody, often nothing quiets the waters more than when we hire someone that's particularly talented and can offer and add value to what we're doing here in the district. The search process for our athletic director was led by Kara Morrow and Amy McLeod. They did screening interviews, and after those screening interviews, we had 10, Kara, and we had 10 in the initial.
We started about 9, exactly. Yep.
We had 9 that we screened. We moved applicants to kind of a second round of interviews, and then we moved finalists forward to a final round. And Mike Murphy distinguished himself in every round. He comes to us from Essex Tech, where he worked as an athletic director, where he grew the athletic programming there. He worked in curriculum there. I think his experience, and not any of our candidates had kind of the breadth of experience that Mike had, and also the kind of the energy and excitement for the work that really kind of stood out in the process. So I'd like to invite Mike up to the table to talk a little bit about the experience and also to introduce himself. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet everybody. So just to start, I'm Mike Murphy. I kind of to Doug's point about the process, I truly enjoyed it. I always like to talk to new people and get to meet everybody's, team and kind of what districts are all about. And some of my interview questions, I think, turned into more conversational based. So I felt good the whole way. Whoever was asking the question or whoever was kind of having that conversation with me. So, a little bit about myself, if you don't mind. I grew up in Chelmsford, Mass. I understand kind of the impact athletics especially can have on a community, whether that's hopefully positive, but positive or negatively. So that's something that I've kind of been striving for in my professional career. So I started at Essex Tech in 2015 as a student supervisor. Worked my way up there with teaching PE and health, and then luckily enough was provided the opportunity to be the coordinator of athletics, wellness, and health services, which I do like to tell people is overseeing the nurse's office, which was a fun dynamic of that position. And I was there for 3 years. And again, I think, I like to say the kids made my job easy. If you put your kids in the right positions to be successful, with the right coaches to kind of put those kids in the right positions, they do all the tough work in terms of putting, the products out on the fields or courts and then in the classroom, obviously. And from a wellness standpoint, I work closely with, anywhere from 8 to 10 PE and health teachers. So we were, grinding away at curriculum. I think we created our own when we were teaching, and, we kind of, we grew as a group when I was teaching. We had, experienced some cuts and then we grew again. So it was always a fun dynamic to try to figure out, what is the best way of putting that curriculum forward. So, early on here with just this morning talking with Kara and then Chris Tolios, who's our wellness department chair, we're excited to kind of get that process started here and what it looks like and what have we been doing from a curriculum standpoint, what makes sense, how do we do it within 28 classes, I think was the question today. So I'm sure those conversations in that work will start very soon. And yeah, I do enjoy all of it. I think, this kind of position is, athletics driven probably, but I have that soft spot for my PE and health folks because I think they're the best people in the building. No offense to the other teachers, but yeah, again, I come from a blue collar family. My dad was a police officer. My wife now is a teacher. She was third grade in Beverly for 8 years now. She's teaching first grade. So if you ever meet her, she can explain that change. But that's it. And then I have a soon-to-be 2-year-old who gives us everything we can handle, Jack Murphy. Other than that, that's me. I'll stop talking because, I can ramble a little bit, but if you have questions, anything I can clarify or kind of talk about for this year, I'm happy to.
Great. Anybody? Pete?
First of all, welcome.
Thank you.
And I'm just curious, what intrigued you most to apply for this opportunity?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think just from, again, knowing the area a little bit, being up towards the North Shore, I think there was, I was kind of looking for that, I say sports town, community type feel. There was positions that opened, I wasn't just trying to jump and go at the next thing. So I talked to a few people, I talked to, mentors that I still rely on, and is this something that, like you guys know me talking to them, do you think I would succeed? Do you think I would like this? And again, it was probably some stuff of careful what you wish for, that kind of dynamic, but I think just the overall, the word community and kind of how the town can come together and again, just listening to kind of the donations from a senior center and having that dynamic and then thinking about how we can have a youth program impact, the high school athletic program, having the opportunity to kind of work in the elementary schools and then the middle school here for me is just something that I haven't gotten the opportunity to do. So I think from, a professional standpoint, that was what I was looking for my next step.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Kevin?
Yeah, Mike, I too want to welcome you.
Thank you.
Just prior to your hiring, Doug had mentioned, not names, but that he was very excited about the finalists. So I can see why.
Thank you.
You have a great background and very excited to have you join the family here. I'm just kind of curious from your perspective, you're starting at a really busy time. School's
yeah.
just starting.
Yeah.
there's building projects going on, probably a lot of facilities issues and things like that. But what are just some of your goals for year one? What would be success for you if at this time next year, looking back?
Yeah, I think, and I would be, I don't know if remiss is the right word, without mentioning Danny Lum as kind of the person that has been behind the scenes through this process. I know he was in the interview committees, but he's been kind of handling the busy times in athletics, where now the games have started and knock on everything. It's just, are the officials there and are the buses coming on time? Which is a story for another day. But yeah, I think my goals, again, from a wellness standpoint or PE and health, it's curriculum wide. Again, we talked this morning. We're going to utilize the professional development half days, and is that something that we can put some mapping together and have that completed in a year? I think that's a realistic expectation. Again, what it looks like, there's new standards, there's all sorts of new things that everyone doesn't know how to handle, and I think that will become a collaborative effort on, what do we do to put our best foot forward. I think, I like to I like to use the word culture a lot from an athletic standpoint. I think, building a culture, resetting a culture, continuing to build the culture that was already here. I think that's where I would start, and I kind of wrote it down in my notes here. That's an everyday thing. What does that look like? I'm not entirely sure. I think, having our student athletes and students just in general, representing Wakefield, inside of the schools and outside, I think is the biggest key to their successes in terms of who we're looking for as graduates. So, yeah, I think kind of just, again, building that culture. What can I do? What can I bring to the table that might be different than what we've been doing? What experiences have I had or have I not had yet that, I can share or learn from, from kids, from staff members, from administrators. So, just trying to do that slowly but surely would be, again, how is that measured in a year is also kind of tough, but I think hopefully it's all these positive impacts that we can have, throughout the community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of experience, right, in this job at Essex Tech,
Sure.
and kind of a similar question to Kevin, but what if you could come up with one thing like that, part of your experience at Essex Tech that you'd like to bring here? Like, is there something that you accomplished or something that you saw and would like to bring from there to here?
Sure. I think it's kind of I don't know, I like to use buzzwords in a weird way. The kind of hand in hand, but from a wellness standpoint, just the adaptability of our team. Again, PE especially, but from a health standpoint, we had to change and adapt, and then be the forgotten child all the time, and all these things where, how can we continue to kind of keep that bond of teachers, and then when I was their supervisor, kind of the, I need to make sure they feel valued as a staff member. Again, oftentimes you hear about the math and in English results, but there's so much good stuff that can come from, that wellness side of things. So, bringing that, someone used the word family before, bringing that family dynamic and kind of understanding the challenges that we have in front of us, but also the things that they've been doing well here already, and then not reinventing the wheel in terms of putting them in the best positions, to be successful. I think, not to keep harping on culture, but I think I was very proud of kind of the Essex Tech student athletes. Just, we moved into the Cape Ann League, which was a very interesting dynamic for athletics. I think it was a step up, and our kids really handled it, in stride. I think they started to realize just how hard they had to practice. It wasn't something that we could take for granted. This, sports can offer a lot of things to a lot of people, and having those hard times and wins and losses, both, but kind of understanding that culture piece of things, where this is how we do things here. It doesn't matter to quote the the great Bill Belichick, ignoring the noise everywhere else. This is how we do it here, right? So, and again, trying to create that buy-in, where it's an entire school community, right? I think one of my early on kind of portfolio pieces was just a simple answer of kids coming to me and asking if they could have a student section, right? I said, has the answer to that been no before, right? So, just trying to get kids to buy into their classmates, their peers, and
We've talked about this, we have this here.
well, yeah, I know.
I'm
Sea
giving
of
you-
red,
I'm
right?
giving you-
I'll get there. So, but yeah, bringing that family aspect of teaching and learning, and then kind of the culture piece still.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? I would say welcome, like everyone else. I know I always find it challenging when your first few days in a job, someone asks you like, "What do you want to do?" So I'm going to be interested to hear from you again, maybe in January
Yeah.
or so, when you
For
get maybe
sure.
a season and get a feel for the place and what you're bringing and what you see here. I'm going to find that, I think, extremely enlightening. What I kind of know about sort of Wakefield athletics, which is not a lot, but having sat here enough, I know from the previous athletic director that seat, that chair that you're sitting in, is a big seat. I used to just think it was just athletics, but it's not. It's, as you've described, it's wellness, it's culture, there's a lot of pieces, and I'm kind of excited for the way that your hiring process has been sort of talked about through Kara and through Amy and Doug. So the fact that they're excited for sort of you to join the district and the team sort of makes me excited. What I've also seen sitting at that table is our student athletes, and I would add to that student leaders, because I've seen some high caliber kids come through the athletics program, and so I think in a good way, what I'm hoping is that you'll be a little bit challenged by our students, and that you challenge them right back, and I think in that way, high expectations, and just continue in the tradition and even elevate it sort of to what it sounds like you're used to. And so I'm looking forward to sort of what you bring to Wakefield, and I'm excited that you're excited to be here.
Yeah, no,
So,
for sure.
Thank you for
Absolutely.
joining us.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming. Maybe next time Danny Lum and Chris Tolios could join you, and we could talk a little bit more about curriculum.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I just wanted to add, just in terms of what you've all been saying, but it is a job that crosses the town in terms of spanning the coaches, the teachers. We had Dan McGrath join us for the interview process from the rec. Danny Lum in athletics. There's just a lot to it, with especially with the new health and comprehensive health and physical education standards that have been released from DESE. But like Mike said, I think we are in a good place with that. But I just think it feels great to have that whole process, all those different stakeholders across the town on the committee with us, and for everyone to feel that it's you need a lot of different experiences to do this job well, and I think Mike brings that to the table. So
It's great.
thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, I think just also a point of reflection, and to kind of pick up what Kara was talking about, I think administratively we've learned a lot as well during this process, and kind of digging in and talking about, areas of growth for health and wellness and athletics, looking at the new standards, looking at professional development, not only for our health and wellness staff, but for our coaches as well. We've gotten some very good feedback from our coaches around what they feel like they would need. So I think that this has been a really great opportunity for us. I don't know if you want to add to that, Kara?
Yeah, no, I think, like we said, we did our information gathering ahead of time, and put together a pretty balanced team to reflect all aspects of the job, and had great conversations in between. I think just since Mike's joined us, even just getting around with him to talk to the teachers, see where the different spaces are, figure out what the goals of the department are. But there's a lot. Wakefield's in a really good spot in terms of just workshops I've been in with other districts in terms of health and wellness curriculum, but there's always room to grow. And I think we're trying to do the work of being as transparent as possible as what is being taught when, informing our parents, working with our teachers. We have the Team Lighthouse, who has been consulting with DESE on the new standards, working with us this year. professional development. So that was a really good thing to get in place. Kind of you asked the question, you're starting in September. We had a lot of things in place, so that helps Mike to kind of come in and have some set plans in place related to PD and curriculum. So we are in a good place, but I think that we did learn a lot through the process. We got some great feedback from people, and I think it's going to work out well.
Agree, and I think Danny Lum's name has come up 2 or 3 times already, and I think you'll see why his name comes up when he comes back with Mike and Chris Tolios to talk some more, because the team approach to kind of getting things done in health and wellness and athletics is something that is really, you have to see it to really appreciate it. So we'll have you back soon. All right. So you don't have to wait while we continue our agenda. So,
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
have a great night. Thank you so much. So just moving on with my agenda items, I'd like to talk a little bit about days 1 and 2 for faculty. So this year we did something a little different. So because the voting day was on the first teacher day, normally in our first day, we get together as an entire faculty and staff. Everybody is invited to Galvin Middle School. We have refreshments, coffee. Faculty are able to visit with one another. They haven't seen one another for quite a bit of time. So there's a buzz, right? So it's really exciting. But this year we did that, what we normally do on day 1, on day 2, because of the voting day. So teachers were able to get in their classrooms on the voting day on the 3rd. And on the 4th, we had what was formerly our kind of big gathering and had everyone together. This year, we kind of changed it up a little bit, and we did some things differently. In the past few years, we've had either current students or recent graduates to come back or to talk about their experience and things they were hoping for as a student, and really kind of sharing their experience, which was super exciting. And this year we've done something that we've never done before, is we've had a guest speaker come and kind of help us kick off the opening of school. So this year we invited Secretary of Education, Dr. Pat Tutwiler. And so I don't know if you've had the good fortune of either meeting Pat or seeing Pat Tutwiler speak. You might maybe see him on the commercial on TV where he's kind of talking about student attendance. So you'll see him there. But he came and he spoke, and it's funny. His assistant sent Kara and I a note the night before asking if we could cue up some music. We were like, little walk-up music? What's this? We've never done this, and how is this going to relate to his speech and things that we've talked about? But he started off, he played a little old school 80s R&B, right? And he kind of walked up and did a little dancing, and kind of said, yeah, can you feel this, right? Can you feel it, right? And I think that really kind of got people all excited. But he also made a point to say, in my house, where I grew up in Chicago, I grew up with a single parent, but when this music came on Saturday morning, it would be a signal to me and my brother. And does anyone know what that signal was?
Flavia knew.
And someone yelled, Flavia Smith yelled from the audience, time to clean, time to get up and clean the house. And so Pat Tutwiler said, you're right, time to get up and clean. So my brother and I would get up, he'd take the kitchen, I'd take the bathroom, would help my mom, who was a single parent, clean our house. That's what we did. My mom was in education, she took care of us. Education was always a priority for us. And so he talked about what that was like, what it felt like. And so he talked a little bit about his love for music. And he kind of transitioned beautifully into talking about, in education, there's often buzzwords that are passed around and used interchangeably to mean many different things to many different groups. And as those words go away, they're often replaced by new buzzwords in education that are supposed to mean things that are greater than the former buzzwords. But really what he wanted to talk about was belonging, you know, and so he didn't feel like belonging in the research was a buzzword. He felt like, and what he was trying to convey to the audience, to the group was, you know, helping a student, or really anybody for that matter, be part of a community, to be seen, to feel respected, to have somebody know a little bit about you can really make all the difference. He said, take me, for example. Some of you are just meeting me, and what have you learned about me? You've learned I'm from a single parent household. You learned I love music. You learned education was important to my mom. You learned that music was a signal on Saturday for us to kind of participate in helping my parent clean the house. So you know actually a lot about me in a very short time. And he shared that and modeled that because he wanted to use that as an example for the audience, for faculty and staff, to really think about that, to think about how students feel seen, feel heard, feel understood, feel respected, feel safe, like they belong and are part of a community or something greater than themselves. And he, I think, was remarkably successful in delivering that message. He got a standing ovation, brought the house down, and the following days, I think Kara and I both got quite a few messages in our inbox with comments like, was that recorded? I'd love to play that for my kids. I'd love to play that for my class. I'd love to use this. One of our kindergarten teachers said, I welcomed our new kindergartners to that R&B song. And we did a little dancing. And I thought, you know, great. And, you know, I shared that back with Pat Tutwiler. And, you know, he said, you know, geez, like, you really made my day. You made our day. So, so Pat Tutwiler, again, he's the Secretary of Education. Normally, superintendents aren't that close to the Secretary of Education. But in this particular case, I don't know that myself and other superintendents could feel closer to anyone in the work than Pat. And so we are indebted to his grace and how graciously he kind of took on this this opportunity, and he delivered for us, right? And so that was a highlight of opening day with faculty on day 2, right? So that's kind of a unique thing. In terms of day 1 for students, I think it went well, but no one tells how students did, you know, no one tells it better than students. So I'm wondering if Ahmed could share a little bit about his experience, or you and your kind of friends, and how you feel about coming back and what it was like.
So obviously we just came back from school, or just started school. For most of our classes, we feel, not even most, for all of our classes, it went pretty smoothly. Teachers began with kind of an introduction to themselves, and then allowed us to introduce ourselves to them and to the class as well. And between the first 2 days, we kind of learned more about the class structure, what was expected of us within the class, and you know how the year was going to turn out. I think we did a pretty good job across all levels of courses of like correctly introducing the class without overwhelming students, and kind of explaining in detail what was expected of us and how, you know, we were to act as not only seniors but as students of Wakefield High School. I didn't hear much complaints at all, other than like the homework, but we all get homework. So yeah, I think the overall consensus was that it went pretty smoothly.
Have you had the opportunity to show the younger students where their classrooms are?
Yeah, I led one of them astray by accident. I think they were asking where the field house was, and I told them it was like somewhere near history. But in my defense, it was the first day of school, and I woke up like 15 minutes prior. So
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm glad to hear you mentioned. I know that it's been a focus area at all the schools, which is relationship building on the first couple of days that I know Principal McLeod and her team and the faculty and staff have focused on the first 2 days just being really important for that. Just getting to know one another, icebreakers, and every teacher does it in a different way. So it's good to hear, in real time that was happening.
Thank you so much. Next, I'd like to invite Christine to talk a little bit about human resources and just give an update in terms of open positions. Yes?
Just had a couple of comments on your last section. So I heard some very positive feedback from my first time high schooler here. So I just want to send my thanks to the high school administration and the teachers for all their hard work. He was really excited, and when someone's excited like that, you feel like you're going to disappoint them because you feel like I don't know, like something's not going to go right. And then when I asked, everything he said was positive. So I just want to pass on that feedback and my thanks, and then unrelated, pass on my thanks to Tim. Voting day was completely flawless here. There were tons of spots. I don't think anyone struggled to find a spot right in front of the building to park their car to go in and vote. And so I know that was a challenge that we had, that the community asked us to do better. And I really think that we're doing much better there. And I thought it went perfectly well for voters. So those are my two cents. Thank you.
Did you hear?
Oh, yeah. I was just because I'm kind of in it with you on that. I was just going to ask, how's the summer sleep transition going? Because you're in day 4 now, right? What's today, day 4? How you doing? I've been usually I transition pretty well. I've been hurting a little bit this year, so just I think I'm back in the swing of things. We started a little bit earlier than you, but
Yeah,
how's it going? Be honest.
We'll get used to it.
You win it? Okay. Good.
It's your last first day, like in Wakefield.
Yeah.
So not that the wait should feel anything, but I'm glad it was good. Yeah. Anyone else? Sorry. Okay. Moving on to HR.
Sure. So tonight, I know this is also called the AKA Lehman Report, but we're going to talk about positions that are currently vacant in Wakefield. Now, just so you know, this report changed about a half an hour before the end of the day. I mean, this report has been changing hour by hour, day by day. But we're in good shape. We have 4 Unit A positions that are currently opened. 2 at the Galvin for the language-based program, a transition specialist position at Post, and then a reading specialist position also posted for Galvin. There's some contracted services that we're also looking to fill for some PT services. Right now, currently, only 1 Unit C position. I don't know if Doug might have shared a list prior to today, but we filled 2 of those Unit C positions today. So as the report was being generated, thanks to position control, I know that Joe Belanger came and talked about this new, what's position control, but it helps us monitor the true vacancies in the district. So because of that, we knew we had those positions filled today. We have 3 RBT, behavior technicians in the district. Those positions are also vacant at the moment, 1 for the district and 1 for Dolbear in the high school. The rest are some CAF worker positions, and I know that was a topic of conversation last year, but it's continuing to be a topic this year. We have 5 support staff, 4 are full-time, 1 is part-time, and then we have a lead position that is currently vacant at the Walton School. We have someone currently over there right now, but it's not a temporary position at this time. Fortunately for the CAF, we have the temp agency. So we have the wonderful workers back who are back from the temp agency and helping us until we get these positions filled. But other than that, we just have some substitute positions. We know some people are going out on medical leave at the beginning of the year, so we're looking for some long-term subs. Some of those won't be posted until the person actually goes out on leave. And then we just have a couple of interventionists. Last year, we didn't put those positions on the payroll because they weren't really working enough hours, but this year we decided to put them on the payroll. They typically work between 15 and 20 hours a week for both math and ELA. The three positions too that we call other positions are, we're still looking for a lunch monitor at the Woodville School. So if anyone is looking to fill a couple hours a day, that would be appreciated. And then a crossing guard for, I know, the neighborhood around the Galvin, and a van monitor as well. But overall, the list is much shorter than it was a couple weeks ago. We're thrilled about the amount of hiring we've been doing. And, you know, I think the question was asked at the last labor subcommittee about how many new to Wakefield Unit A teachers we have. And the last I checked before I came here today was about 16 new to Wakefield teachers. So that's pretty exciting.
Christine, I'm just curious, because not everyone can see it. The Excel doc that you have in front of you, is that a direct printout from the program that sort of
Direct from the
shows?
program, right.
That's great that you have that
So
sort
it's
of
in
visibility.
time when a hiring principal or a department head would make a recommendation to hire. It would come to central office, and then once the person is officially accepted, we just discuss the salary. Then it goes through to the Munis system, which is the payroll system. But that's how we can directly pull at any time what positions we have and what are filled. And what's important to note, really, for me, is these are the only ones that are budgeted. So we're not filling positions we can't afford.
Sure. That's great that you have that
Yeah.
as a tool now to use. It seems very helpful. Any questions? No? Thank you.
I just want to add a little bit, just so that we're very clear. We have a few positions that are vacant in our middle school special education language-based program, and that's a particular area of kind of sensitivity for us, something that we're working hard to get those positions filled. We're looking at backfilling temporarily while we're hiring or trying to hire. We're also looking at kind of a number of different possibilities, from possibly using an agency or a placement agency to find personnel. And we're also thinking about splitting the responsibilities to best fill those positions to get students what they need. So in our next school committee meeting, Rosie will be here to talk a little bit more about that. Okay? So continuing on, I'd like to talk a little bit about facilities and safety. Ian, would you be kind enough to pass the clicker? Thank you so much. So Tim O'Brien put this together for me, and I'm standing in for him this evening. He had a family
Those are big shoes.
commitment. I know. I won't do as well as Tim, but I'll do my best. Channel my best Tim O'Brien this evening. So, you know, one of the things that was important to Tim and kind of our debrief and talking about, you know, what has been done with facilities is there's a lot of work that is done in addition to the new construction that's happening at the high school. And I think, you know, the new construction can dominate so much airtime that you don't know or see a lot of the other work that's happening. This is a beautiful side-by-side. On the left is our old gym floor. You can see right here. And you can see, if you look closely, you see that wave in the middle. It looks like a skateboard park. And so, water, so when they were putting in the culvert, they kind of rerouted drains in the construction field. And that resulted in the backup of water into the field house that got under the old gym floor here on the left, and it resulted in kind of the floor buckling. And so that was an accident that no one could have predicted. And, you know, it was a rain that happened on the weekend, and it's just, you know, I don't know that they could have stopped the water. It's just the way, it's just something that, you know, it's a kind of a natural occurrence that is not, again, an accident. But what it resulted in is that you'll see on the right here, so Bond Construction quickly kind of pivoted, regrouped, and decided there's no saving the floor on the left. So the decision was made to put a new floor in the gym and you'll see the new floor right here, which is
Looks amazing. I hate to
amazing.
hear this thing
It's
down.
amazing. And it's unfortunate that it's only going to be there for 2.5 years. But we think we might auction off center court to put in someone's dining room with the new logo on it, but we'll see. I'm joking. You all know that I'm on camera here. But this is something that has been a real, it has ended up being a real plus for us because I think it's a more playable surface that I think is better for students, better for them in kind of their ability to run and move around, and the floor is considerably more springy. So additionally, we've been having a number of
quick
offline.
Just when you said like bond pivoted, did they pick up the expenditure on that?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, yeah. And so, so that's what occurred there. Thank you for that clarification because we want the community to hear that's not a additional cost that's added to the construction project. That is something that was picked up by the construction company. So additionally, continuing in summer facilities projects, one of the things that we've done is we've added speed bumps. We've added 2 speed bumps on Farm Street, and we added 1 on Hemlock. We have got funding from the project to fund a new crossing guard position. Okay? And so we're looking to fill a position right now, but with opening school and with construction happening and with trucks coming and going, what we've done is we've reassigned one of our crossing guards that was at Main Street and the Haunt by Nick's Pizza and Dunkin' Donuts to this location, and we have subs that we're going to try to put there temporarily in that old spot or near Nick's, with and we'll try to fill that temporarily while we're trying to hire. So more information to come on that. But one of the things that I want to really talk a little bit about tonight is, and this was talked about last night at the town council meeting, is the parking options, and really stress this idea that parking is like continually being assessed and discussed. I think it's continually being assessed and discussed at all levels, right? And so I think some positive information is that we've seen high schoolers, and Ahmed could speak to this from a student perspective, but we've seen high schoolers in the first few days, today's day 4, but we've seen high schoolers get into the building on time and get out on time, and so safely, which is, was our goal in kind of some of the changes that we've made with the traffic. One of the kind of the unintended consequences that came from this is that it has negatively impacted and made kind of pickup, especially pickup, but also drop off, but I will say especially pickup at the Woodville, very difficult because on the west side of Farm, there are now barrels on the street. And so those barrels don't allow people to live park, right? And the signs that were there that said you could only park for certain amounts of time, there's paper on the top of those signs that say no parking. So there's no parking signs and the barrels are in the street, which is, the barrels are essentially the enforcement, right? So it kind of blocks your ability to park there. We're having a meeting tomorrow at 3:30 to talk more about that. And they talked about it last night at town council, and Lieutenant Anderson had said that in the next couple of weeks, the barrels will be coming out. So even when the barrels come out, if the signs don't change and it still says no parking, the question then becomes, is that helpful, right? Does that help for pickup and drop off at the Woodville, right? And so, in conversation that we've had, one of the themes that has come up over and over is we have to look at not only the high school project, but as both campuses and the traffic pattern and how it affects both campuses. And so that is a kind of a message that we feel like has been delivered loud and clear. We're also talking actively about the possibility of relocating some student parking. We haven't worked through that fully, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. The upper lot where students used to park You'll see a big retaining wall that's being poured there right now. That's scheduled to open on November 1st. And it's supposed to be expanded from 82 spots to 122 spots, which will be terrific. But that's a very quick update. In terms of student perspective, Ahmed, you want to give us your feedback on parking so far?
I think parking obviously has been a challenge since the construction started last year, but students have gotten pretty used to it. People figured out carpools and where to park, and people kind of understand where they normally regularly parked from last year and just made adaptations for this year. But I know students are pretty excited to have more additional parking pop up November 1st because it just makes it easier in terms of getting out. But I think it's not like ideal to have such a small amount of parking, but it's manageable.
Great. So I will tell you, in talking and debriefing with Tim about this, he feels, and I agree with him, that the speed tables, the speed bumps have slowed traffic greatly, which is just fantastic. The addition of the crossing guard on Hemlock has been really great for students crossing. People aren't trying to cut students or rush ahead of students crossing any longer. And to the credit of Amy McLeod and her team, Amy McLeod has been out since school has started, crossing people across farm as well, just to make sure they can get across safely. So those things are positive, but I'll have more information, be able to share that with the larger committee after tomorrow afternoon's meeting.
Okay. Pete?
I appreciate your continuing the conversation tomorrow, and I also do appreciate the work from the Traffic Advisory Committee on those speed tables. I do agree it's made a difference. The part that I sent a personal email, not representing the school committee, but representing myself as a parent to Lieutenant Anderson, is that this is just the wrong time to be just like nixing parking all over the place. I mean, we took parking that was allowed during certain hours, and we said no parking and put a bunch of barrels up. And we've got, I know we added some spots in the bond lot, et cetera, but I mean, we've got at least 60 plus spots offline. This is a very tough project combined with another one right up the hill. This is the time to be creative. I heard from, secondhand from a neighbor who was there, who was caught off guard. All of a sudden they had no parking signs in front of their house that they didn't ask for or weren't consulted on. And so I did send my own personal feedback, and, my wish is, that hopefully you'll reiterate tomorrow that, we really need to be creative and open some of those spots back up. I'm okay with the restricted hours for the Woodville spots because we do need those to be available for drop-off and pickup, especially pickup where parents don't have any other choice. But as you're heading towards Saugus, all those spots on the right that are just now blocked off, I'm just not sure that's really helpful right now. And I would ask for whatever support we can do, at least from my own personal opinion, to echo that we really need to open those up, that this is just not the right time to be reducing parking.
No, I agree.
Other comments, thoughts? Great, thank you, Pete.
Just curious on the crossing guard, just because I'm curious. So we moved a crossing guard from Nahant in Maine.
Correct.
Over to Nahant in
Farm and Hemlock.
Farm and Hemlock. Do we move them because they were a more seasoned crossing guard and it's a trickier intersection? So put the seasoned person there and then have a sub pickup somewhere where there's a light?
So this is a little layered. So the short answer is yes.
Okay.
Right? And so the other part of it is that, because of seniority, they also have a right of refusal. Right? And so, they could have had a less senior person take it. But Pat, who's there now, if we had 10 Pats, I mean, it wouldn't be a traffic issue in our town.
It's a tough spot. I'm kind of glad
she's
that
been
it's-
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, makes me a little nervous sometimes stepping in front of traffic, but I think her ability, and on all of our crossing supervisors, their ability, crossing guards, their ability to kind of help students and families feel safe is really quite special.
Yep.
But more information forthcoming around our new hire there, and as soon as we know more, I'll let you know. Tim wanted me to convey the new at Doyle. In the back, there's a more appropriate play structure. When I say more appropriate, the original one that was there was built for the elementary school that was there. And this is a pre-K play structure, was it lower to the ground. There's also a rubberized deck here, which I think the Doyle faculty and staff are really thrilled about, because any students that have any mobility issues, they can just move right in there. And that's just really so good. In the building, we've also kind of replaced about 1,000 square feet of tile in there as well. That's at the Doyle.
They redo the fence?
Nope.
Okay.
I think it was the front fence. I thought they did some work
And
on
then
because
other
kids were like
smaller.
going
That-
through it or over
that's
it.
right. They
was
went higher with
a
that
year
one.
ago.
Yes.
We went higher with that. Yeah.
right.
And we also took out what was 2 feet of mulch.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself made it higher as well. So other projects. So we also put in a new play structure and a rubber deck at the Dole Bear. And we did refinished the gym floor. And we need to really thank and kind of recognize Ken and Rick for their work on that, because they just did a great job, and the floor looks new. So we're very pleased about the work that was done there. Also, you've heard Tim talk about our new Genetech cameras, which are state of the art, and we're particularly pleased that we're able to work with the town on this and capital and kind of bring this technology into our schools. Again, this is related to the safety work that was done, the audit that we did around safety and building safety over a year ago. So more to follow there, but that's kind of me closing out, channeling my best Tim O'Brien. So, any questions? Happy to answer. Yes.
Are the playgrounds, in addition to having the rubber grounding, are any of the structures actually accessible?
So I think that they are more accessible, right? You'll see a ramp. So I think that there are ramps and they make them more accessible. They're
Than they
more
were.
accessible than the older structures that were there, right? So I don't know if they're completely 100% accessible for students with multiple or a range of multiple disabilities, but I do think that they are ADA compliant and 100% more accessible than the structures that were there, especially the one at Doyle.
Right.
The one at Doyle was treacherous just in regard to the height for the smaller students.
I appreciate your question, though, because I know that when we redid the playground at the Walton, that used to be ADA accessible, and the new one is not. And the picture here makes it look like the one at the Dole Bear is. It's an interesting question.
Great. Thank you so much. Just all, go ahead.
One other thing, just to piggyback on sort of the parking thing, because it triggered my thought, is that I know that in the past few days, we've had some challenging busing things,
Yes.
and I know that that's not quite in the thing.
But that's in comments and updates.
Oh, well, I didn't mean to. All right, continue. Sorry, apologies. Didn't mean to steal your thunder.
So I'm gonna, if it's okay, I'd just like to talk a little bit about just a quick update on the Galvin solar project that we hope is progressing. And then I'm gonna go back to the top just to talk about comments and updates, if I can. And so the Galvin Middle School, the town has put a request for proposals together to put, to retrofit or to kind of place solar panels on the roof of Galvin Middle School, which I think will be amazing. You know, I think, you know, I feel like it's in line with the town's kind of shift to move to a more green kind of space and more kind of electric centered conversation around their building. So more to follow, but I just wanted to share with the committee and the community that a request for proposal has been put out, and as that progresses, we will share more information there. And going back up to,
One of the things also that is predominantly funded by ARPA funds, and then the makeup, I think they will be requesting some additional funds in the town meeting that'll be upcoming.
yeah,
So, thank you to the town for that.
not a problem. Earlier today, about 2:30, we put out a communication to the entire community, or a little bit earlier, we put out a communication to the entire community that came from me And in that communication, it talked a little bit about North Reading Transportation, who was our bus vendor. So they have lost some of their bus drivers. They have left the company. They no longer work there. And the subs that they have had fill in are, they don't have enough subs to fill all of their vacancies. And so this is a problem. North Reading Transportation, NRT, serves most of the North Shore, if not all of the North Shore. So this problem has really negatively impacted a number of districts, not only Wakefield, but a number of districts. I try to describe that in my communication, so and to share kind of the greater context of why we've had some interruption in our bus service this week with buses number 5, 6, and 9, right? And in my correspondence, I shared that Deirdre Sandinato, who's our coordinator of transportation, will continue to provide updates, and she works very closely with NRT. And so she will continue to provide updates to families to let them know as soon as we know when there are going to be changes or cancellations in bus routes. Tomorrow morning, so there's two parts to this. So there's this conversation happens twice a day for arrival and dismissal, right? Because we use the same 9 buses. So in the morning tomorrow, for bus number 5, which takes care of Woodville, in the morning tomorrow we have a sub. In the afternoon we do not. So afternoon tomorrow morning on bus 5 will be impacted. Buses 6, 6 is vacant. Tomorrow we don't have a driver for that bus, so it's going to affect Galvin in the afternoon, I'm told. And bus 9, we have a 3 p.m. departure. So, but Deirdre, while we were on our way down to the meeting tonight, to the school committee meeting, Deirdre Sandinato sent out an update to the community. So you probably received a text message, an email. So sorry for the multiple modes of the multiple modes of communication, but we really just want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to kind of get this out. Well, also this correspondence that I sent earlier today should have also gone out on social media. So that's where we are.
To be clear about, oh, sorry, Melissa.
I just wanted to see if, so do we have 2 different bus 5s, or is the bus 5 that does Woodville also the bus 5 that does Galvin?
It's the same bus that
It's the
also
same
does
bus. So
Woodville.
if it's going to Woodville, will it also be picking up for Galvin?
So tomorrow morning, we have a sub. Tomorrow afternoon, we do not
Got it.
for bus 5, unless Deirdre's correspondence has changed in the time that we've walked down and been in this meeting, Melissa.
Thank you.
And I think it did change, because the last update said it will run on a normal schedule tomorrow morning and
Well,
afternoon, no?
Yeah, at 6:20 today, the community communication that went out said that 5 will run on morning and afternoon.
Good.
Okay.
Yep.
So it sounds like she figured it.
So she got someone for morning and
For
afternoon?
5.
Great, awesome. So I know we're still short on 6 and 9, but that's progress, and
And it's also, she's clear to say tomorrow. So we do know, and she's been clear about it being a day by day,
it is a day by day.
and definitely a
It's
challenging thing.
it's almost an hour by hour.
And it's important to know too, if I could just add to that Deirdre is very good about, as soon as she knows from NRT, she emails those parents directly. So every bus, she has an email group for that bus. So she can let them know as soon as she knows of any change of time or schedule or driver. We're hoping by next week, we know that some drivers are completing training, so we're hoping by next week to see improvement. But again, we're at the mercy of NRT.
Sure.
Christine, do we have anything in our contract with NRT that would give the district back money for the missed time, so we can, I realize it's a small change compared to the inconvenience, but so eventually parents could get some credit for the time they're not gonna get to
So
the buses?
we've been talking with them about that, but again, not all parents pay, like we'd have to look into that.
I would just say, being a parent that's impacted by this, it's tough to sort of sometimes sort of connect the dots between. It's incredibly frustrating, but I also know that that Deirdre is very good at what she does. I know she has good connections. I know it's a real world situation, and just if people can sort of just be aware that I'm sure everyone is saying like, we could be doing more. I'm supremely confident that everyone is doing everything that can be done. And I think there are some contractual things in place, because it's not like Deirdre can hop on a bus and that it's not the way that works.
No, you have to be an NRT employee.
Exactly.
And I have to just say, NRT has been super responsive to this, and we're actually piggybacking with a driver might come from Saugus and come from another district and help, our community as well. But it's just a struggle to fill these positions.
Yep. So,
So I assume if this is an NRT issue and they've lost a bunch of drivers, I assume that, like you're saying that they got a driver from Saugus to substitute on one of these buses, I assume that this is impacting multiple districts.
Oh, definitely.
Correct.
So like, there's multiple districts that are also having buses being.
This is
Yeah.
not a
Correct.
Wakefield problem.
NRT serves largely almost the entire North Shore, right? So
Which-
they're almost a single,
which
Tom
is
would
a-
know better than
Which is
I.
which is a problem.
And in terms of, Tom just used the word monopoly, right? And
Which is
so
a problem in a situation like this, when there's.
You have
no
a single
recourse.
vendor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a problem. But
They've also been a good partner, though, it sounds like. I mean, I've heard the communication has been good. I mean, it doesn't sound like we've had a bad experience with them, and they're doing the best they can. Isn't this correct? Like, you told me they're updating us twice a day, that they, like,
Every day, twice a day. They contact us day and night,
Yeah.
weekends. They let us know. I mean, they can't control when people come in and resign.
Yeah.
So they let us know, okay, someone who
Yeah.
was scheduled to drive your bus is now resigned. We're working on a sub. We're working on training. We're working on making sure everyone is appropriate on your buses. So, yeah.
my experience, Kevin, from a different bus company, not serving the Wakefield Public Schools, was, it was just, you wouldn't even know if they were gonna show up in the morning. Like, the bus wouldn't come half the time. And then you'd call and you couldn't reach anybody. So, I mean, that's why I was saying, like, we have a long-standing relationship with them, and I think they've been pretty reliable. It doesn't change the fact that parents are being impacted by the staffing situation. I'm just saying, like, the grass could be a lot less green on some other provider. I've seen it.
Exactly.
So thank you to Deirdre for putting all that time in and trying to put the pieces together to make it work for us. And thank you, Doug, for the communication that went out addressing some of the other, there may have been concerns from parents about students being tardy and what if they don't have a way to get their student to school, what if that's an absence? And I appreciate sort of you sending out a note about that.
not a problem, not a problem.
Definitely a challenging
So,
time.
yeah, and if anyone on the committee or anyone watching has any feedback for us, or they'd like to be in touch about transportation or parking or any other item on the agenda that we've discussed tonight, we would encourage anyone to be in touch with the administration directly. So we appreciate that. Just other final comments. Town meeting for the fall has been set for Saturday, November 16th. So we got a memo on that today from Town Hall. We are waiting to see if we're going to get the fall invite, like we did last year, up to Landrigan to kind of witness the band playing, and it's we're kind of waiting for that, looking forward to it. So
Maybe we could help them push some of the pit equipment up. Maybe we'll get us some good cells, some good grace.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything school-related anticipated on the warrant for the town meeting?
On the warrant, which warrant? So the agenda with warrants on it is not produced
Solar
yet.
panels on Gal.
Oh, that'll be there, okay. Meaning what's gonna be voted on at town meeting. I
Oh.
didn't know if you knew if there were anything school-related, in addition to the Galvin.
I
don't
don't
think so.
know of anything yet.
Okay.
Right, so.
Do you consider a lot more construction in town school-related?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, then yes, it may be
Yes.
school-related.
Yeah. I was thinking more directly.
No, I know, I knew, I was joking.
Yeah.
Other than that, we have professional development coming on September 27th. And just to let everyone know, the committee and anyone in the community know that again, that's a changed day. So we're going to have professional development this year on Fridays. And I don't know if anything there, Kara?
Yeah, just Friday, the plan is Friday. We figured out a plan for how to get teachers their PDP certificates. We're dedicating some after-school meetings in addition to the half-days to equal the 15 hours. So we'll still be able to offer our teachers PDP certificates within the contractual day, which is a positive. We're finishing up the final details of our PD plan, which will get out this week. I'll share it with all of you ahead of time, but yeah. that's-
Great.
We're in pretty good shape.
And that's it for me. Happy to take any questions or anyone might have. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Moving on to chair's comments and updates. I want to comment on something, maybe a few things that I've been thinking about, and I'll try and be brief. But in our, if anyone that attended Porch Fest this week may know or has seen, there was an incident on Greenwood Ave where a community member allegedly sort of brandished a firearm in a public space. There were a lot of students in that area. And so it comes on the heels of, there was a school shooting in Georgia. We had a communication that went out about, you know, a bomb threat at one of our schools. It's just sort of in my own house and in other people's I know, there's been a level of concern and worry. And what I'm struck by, what gives me sort of peace in that space is things like the first day speech about things like belonging, and hearing a new athletic director talk about creating culture, and seeing things like an email that went out from Tiffany back to the Greenwood community about sort of being there and having a place to talk. For the parents I know that I talk to that find this to be a tumultuous and nervous time, I try and tell them that I find hope for my kids in the relationships that they've been able to create in our district, and I don't think that that's a small thing. I think our educators and other staff and other families have no trouble sort of connecting to each other and being there for one another. And I think that's something that we do well. And so it had been on my mind a lot lately. And so I just wanted to share a piece of sort of what allows me to still have, you know, hope and optimism and be able to sleep at night is the caliber of people that we have sort of in our district and in our community, and the kids themselves. So thank you to Tiffany for that very heartfelt communication that she sent. I think there were some families that took advantage of some of the help and guidance that she had offered. And just thank you to all the educators that sort of make themselves available and are that trusted adult for our students. It's impactful, and sometimes you can't quite put your finger on how strong that impact is, but this is one of those ways, even though you can't necessarily reach out and touch it. So I think that's just kind of a thank you to educators and to Tiffany for all that sort of empathy.
Yeah, I think, you know, we've talked about this, and I think everyone here understands that, you know, the single greatest protective factor in keeping students and communities safe are relationships, right? I mean, it's what the research pretty clearly shows, right? Kids feeling like they're part of something greater than themselves, and they have to contribute to that and comport themselves safely, right? And so it's often when kids feel unsafe or disenfranchised that these things escalate. But yeah, I think the police were very responsive on Sunday. Very responsive. You know, the chief communicated, and Tiffany back is the principal of Greenwood, who sent the correspondence that you're referring to, is supremely kind of talented in her ability to communicate, and what she did was timely and appropriate. Yeah.
Thank you. Moving on. I apologize if I got heavy there for a minute. It was just something I wanted to say. Subcommittee reports, finance and facilities. Mr. Markham.
We have not had a meeting since 2 weeks, and we do need to schedule one hopefully before the next meeting, but we haven't.
Okay.
But while I still have the microphone, Stephen, thank you for saying that. That was incredibly well stated. Thank you.
Labor and personnel. Kevin.
Yeah, the Labor and Personnel Committee met on Monday, August 26th. We had a pretty packed agenda. You can see the minutes in the packet. Several different topics. First, Dr. Lyons talked about the potential of creating an assistant director position in the future. to address what we all know about the increasing needs and the growing complexity of special education in particular. So the thought is maybe to propose a one-year pilot for this year with a modest stipend, 8 hours per week, to allow maybe this sort of position to exist in the district. So I think some additional information will be forthcoming by the superintendent, but Rosie was there to kind of talk a little bit about the research that she has done at other districts who either have similar positions, and also to provide some color behind some of the challenges that exist in all districts around special education. So how that maybe this position can assist with things like acting as the district's homeless liaison, serving as the out-of-district coordinator, different tasks like that. You can see some of the details in the minutes. So the subcommittee was definitely supportive of potentially moving forward with this sort of pilot year. And again, some more information should be forthcoming. Dr. Lyons talked about post-academy staffing. We talked about the upcoming, at that time, the JLMC meeting that was going to be taking place, and the idea of facilitating and the problem solving that we're hoping to take place there. And that took place on the 27th, which I was able to attend. Talked a little bit about the, what's it, vocal? I don't know how you pronounce the vocal data, and how it might be able to be helpful to the district. It's a survey that's taken by students when they take the MCAS. So what are some of the things that we can glean from that sort of information around, at least from the perspective of the students, areas of strength in their experience, areas where the district may improve, again, as articulated by students through that survey. And then lastly, we talked about our Medco director, and the amount of time that's really needed now to fulfill the responsibilities for that position. And it's currently a 195-day position, but really there being a need in a real life practice of more around 205 or 210. So just kind of making some corrections there with our great director there. So full meeting, but we got out in an hour. We moved quickly, but some really good topics. No meeting yet set for our next one, but I assume it'll be forthcoming.
Okay, great, thank you. Student services, I know Ms. Collins not here, but Ms. Quinn, do you want to give an update to student services?
Sure. We met on August 22nd. We chatted with the superintendent from Burlington about the possibility of moving forward with later start times, particularly for the high school, and being grounded in the research showing that later start times help students both academically and emotionally.
Okay.
We have another meeting, I think, scheduled.
This
for
Thursday?
Yeah. Thank you. I knew it was coming.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
I just read through the minutes of
Yeah.
that meeting. Are we gonna kind of discuss some of those? It seemed like you had a really good conversation.
We did, yeah.
So I was wondering if we could broach some of that in the wider committee.
Yeah,
Just,
I think that's part of
ideas.
the plan. Yeah.
Good, awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
We'll have something more formal.
Nicely done. Yeah, I think that covered it.
Policy and communications, Ms. Davis.
We have not met in a while, but we are finally meeting on Monday, the 16th, I believe. And we have a packed agenda. I'm not sure how much of it we're going to actually get through. We do have a special guest coming to our meeting, Jessica Cummings, the president of WEA, to talk about the union representative seat request for the school committee. So that may take up a significant portion of our subcommittee discussion, but we do have a bunch of other things on our agenda we'd like to get to as well. And then once we have that, we'll come back to the full committee and kind of give you a summary of our research and the information we learned from Ms. Cummings, and we'll go from there and decide how to proceed.
Great, thank you. Any liaison reports? Ms. Quinn?
So I met with the Youth Advisory Council, which I learned is different from the Youth Action Team. Took me a minute, but I got there. And Ahmed was there. They had a really interesting conversation. They elected their officers. They're still looking for a middle school representative, I think, or they were as of last week. So yeah, so if there's another 8th grader, usually they have to be 13 years old, who's interested in serving on the Youth Action Council. definitely get in touch with their, is it Mr. Collins at Galvin? With Mr. Collins. And their agenda for the year was really interesting. They talked a lot about how important belonging was and how to create space for students at the high school in particular to get in contact with their guidance counselors and with the counseling staff. They also talked a little bit about moving forward with researching whether or not to bring the voting age down for municipal elections in town to 16, which some other communities have done in the state. So that's kind of where they're, did I miss anything? No, okay. Thanks.
I want to listen in on those. Sounds like interesting topics.
Yeah, I'm excited to help out.
Cool. All right. Future dates and agenda items. Our next meeting of the school committee will be Tuesday, September 24th. Same bat time, same bat channel. Any other future agenda items? I think folks see them listed to include new teacher introduction at some point in the future before they're old teachers. Awesome. Anything to add for anyone? Okay.
Got quite a bit there.
There's a bunch.
Pretty ambitious.
I think we already
It's
took
good.
some stuff off and put it into subcommittees, so yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, great. School committee comments. Anybody? People are trying for an early meeting. Okay. I would comment on, so to go back to Porch Fest. Porch Fest, great thing in the community. Amazing how well that kicked off. I was blown away by the caliber of musicianship that I saw with Wakefield kids. I saw a young lady not just play the ukulele on the steps of the Americal, but she had a stage presence. Like there was like banter and stories in between the songs that like you could have just put her up at the Improv. Like she crushed it. There was a thing at the West Side that had like an open mic night, and one kid just went up there with an acoustic guitar and crushed it. I think he was playing on someone's porches previously. So two kids on electric guitars shred like Eddie Vedder. It was nuts. And the guy that set him up plays electric guitar and just stepped away from them. He was like trying to help them with their amp because they had trouble hooking up their pedal. And once he did it, the kid like did a couple of riffs, and he was like, "I'm sorry, clearly you know what you're doing. I'll back away." At the jazz band, there was kids. It wasn't just like high caliber. The kids that were performing in our town were amazing. So just a shout out to all of them and the families that support them and the arts programs that are here. Just a great thing for the community, and so fun to see students excelling at things that they put themselves to. So can't wait for it to be next year. Maybe we get the marching band like on somebody's porch. That would be a good time.
I saw there was like a high school jazz group that was one I saw.
Jazz band.
Yeah.
Yep. And some people were saying they couldn't believe that it was actually the jazz band, that it was kids from the school. They were so good. And one other thing is that CPAC, there's a new IEP meeting tomorrow night at 7. I think it's is that the Galvin again? Or is it Zoom? Do you know, Kat?
I actually don't, but I can try to find that for you.
Oh, it's online. Okay, but it is hosted by Rosie. So if their parents are interested getting to know the new IEP, please join Rosie and CPAC, and you can follow it on there
Thursday night's back to school at the high school.
tomorrow. Oh, Thursday is back to school. Oh, Thursday. Back to school night at the high school. Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
I think that is all. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move that the school committee adjourn its meeting of Tuesday, September 10th, 2024.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Those in favor? All right, unanimous. Tom didn't raise his hand, but I'm assuming he wants to get out. Okay, great.
I'm all in.
Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you.